Welcome back to the Creative Creatures podcast. I'm your host, Key. I'm here today with Steve Burley. You might know him from Married at First Sight, or perhaps you've been down to his barbershop, the Balaclava Barbers. Thanks for being here.
Mate, absolute pleasure to be here. Obviously, you contacted me. I'm always willing and able to have a chat. So, yeah, good to be here.
I met you just by chance and I came in to get a haircut just right here on Carlisle Street in St Kilda. And we got chatting and I couldn't help but throw in a couple of suggestions and, talk to you about what you're doing on your TikTok, Instagram and all things in between. And since then we've had a couple of coffees and
I think it's been a while since you had a haircut at my shop, mind you. And I have noticed recently, probably about 15 minutes ago, that you've had a haircut, but not at my shop. So we'll talk about that afterwards.
Yes. I had a very important thing and I would have loved to stop by. It's not quite as neat as I'm used to be honest. So I think
you know where to come.
Look, one of the reasons why you sort of sparked my interest is you've been on MAFS, which is an incredible reality TV. It's success story basically here in Australia. And having that and also running your own business is very unique. The whole idea of the Creative Creatures is our listeners are here to learn little tips and tricks and from people who have been in the limelight or doing their own thing. So you're kind of a perfect example of someone who has to manage your own personal brand, but also you're doing your own business stuff too. So that's why I thought it's really good to have you in. I'll get kind of onto that a little bit later in terms of the business side of things. Before I get into that, I'm just purely out of interest. Reality TV, I can't be the only person who has a few questions about how that works. So I kind of picture it's manipulated, right? Surely. And you've got producers that are there. I imagine pulling the strings a little bit like, the Wizard of Oz. And I want to kind of pull back that curtain. And so tell us a little bit about, is it manipulated? Is there producers pulling the strings or do they just sort of, lead you to do your own thing and make your own story?
What I'll say, first up, I love it when someone says they're interested in what goes on Married at First Sight, because at the end of the day, let's face it, you watch it, you love it. That's why you've got me in. But to answer your question, producers, do they pull the strings? There's a lot been said recently about producers and about how they manipulate things and how they manipulate people to say certain things. In my opinion, if I'm hand on heart honest, I don't believe they do, honestly. We do a lot of things after we've filmed a certain scene where, they call it a voxy. So you do a one-on-one interview. They will ask you certain things that went on in that clip or something that you filmed.
Yeah, so there's a voiceover happening at the same time as the night out. And you kind of, how are those two things happening at the same time?
Oh, well, that's done later. Obviously, that's edited after they've got what they've got on film. But when, like I said, when you do the voxy, at the end of the day, what comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth. So if they ask me a question, if they're trying to lead me into something, it's still up to me what comes out of my mouth, right? And I think a lot of past participants, because that's what we're called, I think are very quick and very in a hurry to blame the producers and blame everything around Married at First Sight, when really at the end of the day, it's what comes out of their mouths that matters. And I'll cop it for what I've just said, but that's fine. I don't care, quite frankly. I went on the biggest, largest juggernaut of a TV show in Australia history. Had an amazing time. It didn't work out for me. I didn't find love, probably because the person they matched me with was not suited to me. Simple as that.
Did they do that on purpose? Did they purposefully go, this might create some friction here, or purposely put someone who has different values together and see if we can create drama?
100%. Let's face it. Are you going to go home at night at 7:30 at night until 9 p.m. and watch vanilla TV? You're not going to do it, are you? You are not going to sit there, and they're not going to get the ratings that they get every night. Night in, night out. So yeah, look, I've soon realised moving on into the experiment that I was on that they probably matched us wrongly. But we grew close together at the time. Do you know what I mean? Because you have to bounce off each other.
Well, they do say it's an experiment, so...
Well, exactly right. But they also say that you've got to sleep with your wife, which I didn't. And I got slammed for it. But anyway, that's another story, a long time ago.
Well, as long as it's not like see, some people have the perception, I'm not sure if you're a Simpsons fan, but there's an episode where Homer's sort of stitched up on the nightly Today, Tonight, 60 Minutes, where the clock's kind of going around like this because the producers have cut down. He's going like, my sweet candy, because it's all been edited. Maybe they take a couple of liberties here and there to cut out like a little bit of context here.
Oh, look, when you look at some of the edits, I've even checked out some edits of this year's series where, look, let's face it, probably 99.9% of the general public wouldn't even pick up on it. But once you've been on the show, you understand how certain things are done and put together. So, there's been times in my series where I remember sitting on the couch and I was clean shaved, and they went from me, they went to my wife, TV wife, and they was chatting to her. They came back to me and I had a full beard. And it was out in the press that, bloody hell, Steve can grow a beard real quick. And it was in seconds, and that made anyway. So what I'm trying to say is the editing is there, and a lot of past participants will blame the edit. The edit is there because, how can I describe it? I went to New Zealand for my honeymoon for 9 days, right? We filmed between 6 to 8 hours a day. They showed 4.5 minutes on TV. Well, that gives the general public no concept of what went on in New Zealand when I was there on my honeymoon, really.
Did they just keep you apart, though?
No. We were together all the time, apart from one night when I just needed to get away and get to the bloody movies on my own and eat a choc top and some popcorn because I needed some time out. But for the rest of the time, we filmed every day. What I'm trying to say is, if they don't edit the show, how are they going to possibly put it on TV? They're not going to show Steve and Michelle 9 days on a honeymoon, are they? Everyone will tune off.
You're not the only couple on there. So.
Absolutely right. So everyone will tune off and go and watch, I don't know, The Survivor, which is probably one of the most boringest shows on Australia TV, right?
And so I'm interested in the fact that when you were on holiday, you were there the entire time.
Honeymoon.
So how do I'm not a huge watcher of reality TV, but I get the gist. You go, there's a dinner time, and then some drama's going to kick off.
Yeah.
So how do they go about doing that? Are they just filming? Are they asking to do retakes because they didn't catch someone's expression, or how does it work?
So we'll start filming maybe a dinner party from about probably 4 o'clock, something like that. We'll be taken in a car off to the studio where we film a dinner party. We'll then be put in tents. Now you might think, "Is he gone camping?" I said, "No, it's not. It's not about camping." So what they're doing, they're separating us. They're separating every couple away from each other because they need everything to be authentic when they first see each other. So if you imagine we're all sitting in a room and we're all talking about our relationships, when we get on camera, it's going to look fake.
It's going to be you've already chatted about it.
Yeah, we've discussed it, right? So what they do is they bring you into the studio and they bring you in couple by couple and they put you into a tent. Now, try and bear in mind, you're sitting in a tent. It's very hot outside, corrugated sheeting. It's a very non-glamorous environment. So the general public think, oh, wow, this is amazing. But this is what happens. So we're sitting in a tent. We're reading magazines, which are not up to date. They were out of date magazines, as I remember. Given packets of chips and biscuits and a few bottles of water until they call us in. So they call you in strategically, as in each couple, what couple go through first and all that. We go in, sliding door opens, we walk through into the cocktail area, a few beers, then we walk, somebody will come out and say dinner is served. We'll walk into the dinner party. Now the cameras are everywhere in there. It's like a train track on each side of the table. And it just basically goes off. So
and they're not stopping and saying, hey,
no.
We didn't catch that expression, or the camera was out of focus, do that again.
No, in my series, we were stopped once.
Okay.
For a dinner party because everyone was getting on so well that they were like, the executive producer came in. I won't tell you her name, but Tara was a lovely lady. She came in and let's just say she used some extreme language to tell us that if we thought that this dinner party was going to be up to scratch, we need to think again.
It went too well.
No, it went too well because everyone was getting along well. Well, no one, again, like I said, is going to watch vanilla TV. So ultimately we had to start the dinner party and somebody had to pick a fight with somebody and then surely they did. And then we filmed the dinner party.
Well, that's what I love to hear. And after the show airs, you come back to your normal life. there's a period of time, I'm imagining, where you're kind of hidden from the public, or you're not allowed to talk about things at all.
Yeah.
And then how long is the entire process?
So we started filming my series first week of September, and we ended towards the end of November.
Okay.
So it's quite a long process. So I was there from start to finish, and from there, so end of November, and then it comes onto TV at the beginning of February the following year. But you have to film a reunion party within that time. So you all have to get together and go back to Sydney and film the reunion party. And then obviously it comes on national TV at the beginning of February. To say it was a weird experience it's an understatement. And people will go, oh, you loved it and all this sort of stuff. Can I tell you, when I first went on the show, I generally went on there to meet someone. I honestly, genuinely did, hand to heart. And I've said in previous things that I've done that I'll take that to my grave because it's the truth. But when you go and film that and then you wait for it to go on TV and then it comes on TV and you walk into, say, Chadstone, and it's been on TV for a week or two, something like that, the impact is just insane. It's insane.
In terms of, and is it people coming up, or
Yes.
can you just hear them sniggering?
No,
or
people
saying
shouting
things?
your name from across the other side. You know what Chadstone's like. So you're walking down one aisle and there's another. People will be shouting at you from one aisle to the next, or people will be running up to you wanting photographs. You go to a bar, it's just insane. Like, I was living in Caulfield North. I had press living in the car park underneath my apartment with big lenses. Yeah, paparazzi looking at my apartment all the time, waiting to see what they could find. So I had to move to where I now live. It was surreal, mate. It was surreal. When you walk out your apartment at 8 o'clock in the morning, you got 4 paparazzi guys waiting there.
You weren't tempted to, play some pranks on them, or, go out there?
Yeah, mate, that'd backfire on you if you did. But they're like saying, if you want to play in the big league, you've got to expect it. Like,
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And then I wouldn't give them anything. They'd drive straight to my shop in Carlisle Street and be waiting outside the front of my shop across the road. Bizarre. I mean, who wants a photograph of me?
Well, and when I was chatting to you at the barber, you were telling me that basically there's some good things and bad things. And interestingly, romantically, after the show finished, while you were obviously getting hit up by like all sorts of people on DMs, that you were sort of saying that in a way it was harder to find like meaningful relationships.
Yeah, 100%. It's more harder because, you would catch up with people, you'd meet people and they'd say, let's catch up for drinks, and maybe you catch up for
sound that hard. Oh, come down.
Well, sure, I can assure you that's what I don't. I'm not like that. I don't operate like that. I'm not a wham bam's thank you ma'am sort of a guy. I'm not going to take females home to my apartment, sorry, and have a good time and then see you later. It's not who I am. Never would be, never will be, sorry, and never would be. I'm more of when I meet someone, that's the person I'm into and that's the person I'll spend some time with, hopefully a long time with. But when you're on the show, people come at you and all they want to talk to you about is MAFS. Well, there's a lot more to me than Married at First Sight, a lot more. And I'm very pleased to say that I've recently met somebody and she's good as gold. She's good as gold. And very rarely does she talk about MAFS. And when she does, it's only because I'm talking about it. She'll laugh at that.
Well, I'm sure you got plenty of other people to hassle you about, like myself, to ask you every single thing there. So it's good that you can have a little bit of peace. And also some more negative incidents. Someone was trying to come after you recently, or a few times.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. It was surreal. A few weeks ago, outside the front of my new shop here in Carlisle Street, that I was standing outside the front of the shop with one of my clients and one of my staff members, and a guy came along, jumped off his scooter, and just started kicking me. Abusing me for saying that he just got out of prison. He was watching me from behind his prison cell door. Why did I treat my wife like this and this, that and the other? Laid down in front of my shop and said, you've got 3.5 minutes to explain yourself or I'm going to punch your face into a pulp.
He laid down.
He laid down in front of my shop, yeah.
Okay.
Bizarre, right?
And I take it, you're not exactly a small guy, so I take it that...
No, but I could have retaliated, but I mean,
Was he a big guy? Was he?
he was reasonably a big guy.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
I felt confident enough in taking care of myself. I got no problems. My adrenaline was pumping through my. It's not every day you get someone start abusing you the way he did. My staff was taken aback. My client was definitely taken aback. I've also got to understand that I've got a shop. Now, he was telling me to call the police. He was this, that, and the other. Let's just say I called the cops. He got arrested. What happens to my shop?
Yeah.
I've got to think the overall picture of things. And people get sucked into the TV. Of course they do, big time. But the reality is, I said to him, explained to him that not everything you see on TV is reality, So you got to understand. And he sort of calmed down. Ended up walking away telling me he was going to come in for a head shave and a beard trim. Well, he's the last person I want in my shop to do a head shave and a beard trim. But you shouldn't have to put up with stuff like that. I've had situations in the past where people have threatened my life, threatened to slit my throat, suffocate me, put me in my grave, telling me what street I lived in, all this sort of scenario. Police found him. He was from Perth. But I explained to them I don't want to press charges, but just explained to him I don't want this to happen again. Consequently, it did stop. But people are obsessed.
Right.
Obsessed.
Especially on Carlisle Street and St Kilda area, sometimes there's all sorts of characters, and sometimes they're great people, and other times, just stay out of their way. But I guess that kind of does lead me on to the next, like getting onto the business side of things. You sort of mentioned if something goes down out the front of your store, you could get involved or retaliate, but that's going to reflect your business, and businesses are kind of sometimes made or broken by the people behind them. If you picture people like Elon Musk or Bill Gates, all the way to like Trump and things, you're in a unique situation where you have a business, which is a barber, and then you've got your own Steve, you're a personality with your own followers. You've got followers about the barber, you've got followers about yourself.
Yeah.
How much do you blend them together? Is the barber kind of got the exact same personality as you, or vice versa?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It is a difficult one, as I explained to your business partner. But the scenario is I've got my business account, my Instagram account, and I've got my personal Instagram account. Well, 99.9% of people that follow me on my personal site are following me because of Married at First Sight. Everyone that follow me on Balaclava Barbers some of them are following me because of, Married at First Sight, because they're beautiful people, and they're following me on my business account. But a lot of them are obviously my clients, which are also very beautiful people. But it's difficult because if I post too much on my personal about my business, most people are not there to look at my business.
Right.
They're there to support me because I'm Married at First Sight. So it's a difficult one. It's a fine line. It's a balancing act, whether I promote too much on my personal or, I'm always posting on my business, but it's a difficult one.
And you're sort of, when I went down there, you were kind of meeting and greeting, being the face of the barbershop, and definitely putting out that kind of friendly and welcoming persona. Is that your take on how to sort of... Yeah. Is that your difference? There's a lot of barbershops around the place.
I'm not sure whether it's a difference. I look at it this way, and I've watched a lot of things. I've read up a lot of things. Owning a barbershop, the haircut is very important. Of course, it's very important, but it's a very small part of running a barbershop. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a relationship building environment. Whether it's the barber talking to the client and building a relationship, whether it's the owner doing exactly the same. If you build a relationship with your client's going to come back because the haircut is always going to be good, right? Because I don't employ mediocre barbers. I don't. It's just part and parcel. So for me, running a business, it's all about building the relationships, listening to people. Because if people are struggling, going through a difficult time, hard time, if they want to talk to me about it, I'm happy to walk down to the Balaclava Hotel pub and have a beer with them, and they can tell me about it, and I'll be there to listen to them. And I generally, hand on heart, mean that. So I want my customers to come in, have a good time, try and beat me at pool if they can, have a beer, but have a good haircut and leave happy.
Yeah, it's... When I went in there, you have the beers there. There's a pool table going on at the back, and did feel like a bit of a vibe. I feel like it's well known that when girls go out to clubs and bars, they kind of end up being in the bathrooms and they meet each other in front of the mirror and chat. And I feel like there's maybe a little bit of a void in males' life that we don't kind of talk to each other as much as we could. And potentially, when I look back at different discussions, you don't really get a chance to talk to, especially a stranger, about what's going on in your life. And maybe a barber is the only time that really happens.
Yeah.
So,
and you don't know what's going through someone's life, do
Yeah.
you? You don't know what's going through someone's head. I've gone through some stresses this year or last year. We all have, but sometimes we mask it very, very easily. We'll have a laugh and a joke when someone asks if we're okay. But I think if you delve a little bit deeper and you're basically looking at the person when you're talking to them, I think you can soon realize that there's probably something a lot more going on. And if you can dig and get that out of them, you might be doing someone a big favor.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me about this pool table in there, by the way. You've got a little marketing promotion going on.
Yeah, a little marketing promotion. So if anybody comes into Balaclava Barbers and takes me on at pool, you can bring your own cue, you can bring whatever you want. You can bring a tree if you like, and win 2 straight games against me. You will not pay for your haircut. Right. You will not pay for your haircut. I'll even give you a beer. But if you do lose, you have to pay for your haircut. Simple as that.
And you're going to tell us, do you rate yourself?
Well, I used to play almost professional snooker back in the UK years ago. So I do back myself. So I'm putting it out there. If there's anyone out there who wants a haircut, 2 straight games, you will not pay for your haircut if you beat me.
All right. I like that. And I think overall, that seems to be, compared to many other barber things, to me, one of your selling points. I've been there myself and I've got myself a haircut and I loved it. And the only reason I didn't go back this time is because I was under an event, so I apologise for that. I'm not going to try and play you in pool because I will get my ass handed to me.
Yeah.
But then again, there's a few pool tables around, so I'm thinking I go and do some training and come back.
And then come back in.
Play you. But when I go in there, I felt that you were sort of out the front, meeting, greeting, and I can talk as well. So both you and I'm sort of so interested. I can't help but thinking about people's marketing. So we straight away got into it. Yeah. And one of the things we discussed is basically that and moving that persona and that way that you're treating people and talking to people and getting to know people. And we spoke about the fact that maybe you could bring that online too. And one of the discussions we had is that you're starting to recognize like different people, different dogs, different people even popping in saying hi even when they don't have their haircut.
Yeah.
And, creative things like that might be sort of something down the pipeline when you're doing reels about things that are going in, who's coming in, who's playing pool and
you suggested me do something because a lot of dogs walk past my shop. Bizarre. I don't know why, but every dog that walks past my entrance of my shop always stops and looks in the shop, steps into the shop and looks around and then leaves every day, every time. And now whether there's something going on, there's a presence in the shop, don't let it worry you. I'm there. But for instance, I don't know, it happened earlier, just before I came here to see you today. A dog poked its head in the door, and it happens all the time, every day. And I think you said, do some sort of a reel with all different dogs coming in. You know what I mean? So I might do that.
Yeah, it's just the different. Basically with TikTok and many of our viewers, we get a lot of questions about do we run TikTok compared to reels on Instagram, that kind of thing. One of the things that I was discussing with you about is the ability with TikTok to be a bit more raw and organic, whereas Instagram, you probably, if I'm doing something on Instagram, I want to have the looking really nice, all the lighting's going on and your barber's looking perfect and you get some really nice curated content. If I'm on TikTok, I don't mind just showing around the barber, and that's one of the things that we discussed.
Yeah.
And I think that if people were to go to your barber, that's what they would expect, and therefore it's going to go. I think it comes out in you whenever I talk to you, whenever we get a coffee or whatever.
Excellent.
Yeah, it comes out that you care about people, and sort of customer service comes first. And I get that radiating through your business.
Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you.
And the difference between other hairdressers and barbers that are in the area is some of them might be super trendy, or maybe they have cool artwork out the front or whatever it is. But I think that, to be honest, it shines through that you guys are more about that customer care.
And thank you for saying that. That's nice because, look, that's the way I look at it. Is I used to get my hair cut every 2 weeks, right? Without fail. I used to love getting my hair cut. And that's why I wanted to open a barbershop. But what I didn't like is when I walked in the barbershop, it was, take a seat, mate, we'll be with you in a minute. Well, no, just take a seat, mate, we'll be with you in a minute, because I'm paying good money to have my hair cut. At least you could do is give me some of your time. And that's what I want to implement. You know what I mean? Give my clients time, not just have them sit there and head down looking in their mobile phones. You know what I mean? So customer service is paramount.
And I assume that's, as someone who's not doing the hair cutting yourself, is that one of the reasons why you were sort of felt drawn to that segment anyway, because you knew that's sort of your strength?
Yeah, well, my strength, like in the past, I was a sales director for a shoe manufacturer for 9 years.
Right.
And I used to install into my team then that, you know, relationships are everything. You build relationships with your clients that you're doing business with, you'll continue to get, you know, repeat business. Your business will go up, your KPIs will go up probably, but then at the end of the day, your commissions will go up as well. But ultimately, I've tried to install that into the guys at the barbers and make them understand that it's not just about the haircut, it's about everything. It's about talking to them about, and if someone enjoys a good conversation, like we had a good conversation the other day over coffee, you know, why not? Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Let's do it again. You know what I mean? Because ultimately, that's what makes life go round. You know, the world go round is good conversation. And I think it's important that you offer a good customer service in any business that you do,
Well, I think you're nailing it. And I recommend anyone who's looking for a haircut to go down there, check it out, and get to meet you and the team. If even better, if you're good at pool, which I'm definitely not. Good luck, to be honest, if you do. But look, that's about all. I think it's great for you to come in. And I think basically that combination between business and managing your personal life and being on socials and everything is it's something that other business owners in this segment have been wondering about. They've got their own business and they've been a little bit unsure how much to show themselves.
Yeah.
We talk about that when we do websites for people. They do an about us, right? And a lot of the time they're on the phone to us, hey, I've written about the business and I got into a section where I'm going to start talking about myself. And then I kind of, you know, they're not sure because they don't want it to be all about them and they're not sure if their personality should cross over. And
100%
then you've got your own social media accounts and you're a great example of someone who's making that work.
Yeah.
Albeit challenging, especially when you're known for one thing and then you've got a business in somewhat to some crossover, but some similar areas.
Tell anybody out there if they're concerned about putting their own personality in front of their business, do it 100%, because people will buy from genuine individuals. They will buy from genuine people. They will, but people will see fake. People will see fakeness as well. So don't be afraid to show and be vulnerable and be yourself, because ultimately at the end of the day, it will benefit you in the long run.
I think so. A lot of people hide behind that. They want to be that clean, clinical, and just be a logo.
Yeah.
But as in the age of social media, when we want to see people's faces and we kind of don't trust, there's so many scammers and there's so many different businesses floating around. I agree with you. I think that people should definitely consider doing that. And you've been someone who's sort of nailed it so far. So anyway, thank you so much for sharing
pleasure.
Your thoughts. It's been great to have you.
Absolute pleasure.
And until next time.
See ya.